What a year in film it's been. From the enormous Barbenheimer phenomenon to so many amazing small indie films, this list showcases my personal favorite top 23 films of 2023. Number 23 is Asteroid City. For one reason or another, this film came and went and seems to be forgotten about. It's Wes Anderson's latest film that follows some junior stargazers and their parents as they arrive in Asteroid City and then encounter these alien life forms. It is still quintessential Wes Anderson. We have his distinct color palette, his attraction to symmetry, beautiful production design, creative costuming, and an absolutely star-studded cast that only Wes Anderson could wrangle together. We have Jason Schwartzman, Edward Norton, Scarlett Johansson, Bryan Cranston, Tom Hanks, and that's just getting started. Sure, it's not his all-time greatest film, but it is very Wes Anderson. If you liked Moonrise Kingdom, Grand Budapest Hotel, you're probably still going to like this one. Number 22 is Sisu. This is an action-packed Finnish film from Hallamari Helander, and it is a joy. It knows exactly what it is. There's no pretension here. It is just a man seeking revenge and going about it in some amazing creative ways. There's no grand thematic messaging here. It's funny, it's fun, and it's worth the ride. Jorma Tommia does an amazing job as our protagonist here, and it's almost impossible not to root for him on his adventures. Number 21 is Fallen Leaves. Like 22, it's another Finnish film, although this one is directed by Aki Kaurismäki, the legendary Finnish director. Like many of his other pieces, this one is about as dry and deadpan as you can possibly get. I believe a character smiles once through the entire runtime of the film, but it is hilarious if you can get behind that sort of humor, and against the odds, it tells a real story about loneliness, about desire, and about what it means to be human. Number 20 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. A little bit different than the first few films here. This one was a blockbuster success, and rightfully so. This may be controversial to say, but when it comes to Marvel characters, the Spider-Verse is the only multiverse that's worth paying attention to. Obviously, the animation is amazing, combining so many different styles in such a fluid manner, but what really makes this film stand apart from all the other superhero movies that we have out at the moment is the heart. Because it has essentially spread itself over multiple films, it's given these directors, there's three of them, it's given them the opportunity to really develop these characters, and we feel like we know them in a way that we don't know other superheroes. Shamik Moore providing the voice of Miles is amazing, as are really the rest of the cast. Number 19 is Beau is Afraid. This latest film from Ari Aster seemed to disappear as soon as it arrived. It came with quite a big buzz, but then kind of just departed. While it might not be Aster's greatest film, it certainly is an ambitious one. He took a big swing here, and he mostly succeeded. Joaquin Phoenix played this very anxious, kind of man-child on his odyssey to go to his mother's house, and anyone who's ever dealt with anxiety could probably experience truly what Joaquin's character was going through. Yes, it is long. Yes, it is uncomfortable, but that's kind of the point. Sure, some bits could probably have been trimmed out, but as far as an exploration of anxiety goes, it was pretty darn good. Number 18 is Falcon Lake. This is the directorial debut from French-Canadian director Charlotte Lepin, and it is beautiful. It's slow-moving for the most part as we follow a 13-year-old boy kind of coming of age, falling in love, dealing with all of these things, but set against a backdrop of a ghost story. So, in a sense, it's equal parts haunting and beautiful. I have to say it's shot on 16mm film and looks absolutely stunning. It may not be the most exciting film of the year, but if you allow yourself to sit with it, it really is worth the watch. Number 17 is Evil Does Not Exist. This is Ryosuke Hamaguchi's latest film after the critically acclaimed Drive My Car. And while I might be in the minority here, I actually enjoyed Evil Does Not Exist a little bit more. It is very slow at times, and honestly, it can be seen more as a meditation, a reflection on the role of nature, the role of man, and our ability or inability to coexist. It poses a lot of questions and allows you to provide the answers. I will say the ending of this film appears to be very polarizing. It is somewhat unexpected, but upon reflection, I think that it kind of works perfectly with what the film is going for. Number 16 is Seven Veils. This is the latest film from Canadian director Adam Agoyan, and it really is a directorial feat. Essentially, this film follows a fictional version of the opera Salome, but what makes it so interesting is that this film was essentially shot alongside Agoyan's direction of the actual opera in Toronto. So he was juggling both the opera live while also filming a movie about said opera. It stars Amanda Seyfried, who is great in this and is seemingly under-acknowledged pretty consistently in the acting world. What I appreciate about Agoyan's work is that he doesn't necessarily hammer home a moral message, but he presents things as they are. In this film, he poses questions about trauma and about what is justified in the creation of art. Number 15 is Rustin. For one reason or another, this film has gotten some hate since its release, or at least not a lot of love, but I quite enjoyed it. It follows the lesser-known story of Bayard Rustin, who essentially organized the March on Washington, and Coleman Domingo was exceptional in this role. He had quite a tremendous range emotionally and requiring some physicality in his performance as well. The soundtrack here was gorgeous. So many amazing jazz tunes, swing tunes, really embracing black culture in the soundtrack. I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of how the film wrapped up, but I really did enjoy the ride. It was funny, it was heartwarming, it was heartbreaking at times as well, and honestly is worth a watch to learn a little bit more about someone you might not know about. Number 14 is Rice Boy Sleeps from Korean-Canadian director Anthony Shim. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful film in its cinematography, but also in its characters and emotion. It is a story of identity, a story of belonging, a story of seemingly contradictory cultures, and it explores these themes very well. From a visual perspective, I really did love some of the things that they did here. They shifted between aspect ratios 4:3, 16:9, depending on the location. The camera movement was fascinating. It kind of slowly moved, almost like a set of eyes looking around a room, and Shim actually has said that the point of view of the camera is the father, who we don't meet in the film, but had taken his own life previously. Having that knowledge, it just adds another layer to the beauty. Might be a bit long for some, might be a bit slow for some, but it is simultaneously heartwarming and heartbreaking. Number 13 is 1001. This film from A.V. Rockwell premiered all the way back at the start of the year at Sundance to very strong critical acclaim, but has kind of become less talked about as the year has progressed. This story examines what it's like to be a person of color in the United States, in New York specifically. It explores the foster care system and the problems associated there. But at its core, it's a story about family. It's a story about unconditional love, and with some very strong, authentic performances here. The film is really propped up, particularly as we explore Terry, kind of our central character, in three different stages of his life. Josiah Cross providing the strongest performance as the oldest version of Terry. This one probably will leave you in tears, at least at some point. It is a powerful, powerful film. Number 12 is Barbie. Finally, another blockbuster on the list after exploring some smaller indie films. I think we all know about the Barbenheimer phenomenon that single-handedly saved cinema this year. Barbie was a great film. It was fun, it was funny, but it also had serious messages that it was able to deliver. Obviously, both Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling put forward very strong performances and are both likely to be nominated at the Oscars. Beyond that, it's impossible not to acknowledge the production design and the costuming and the soundtrack, which was almost impossible not to sing along to. Greta Gerwig provided strong, clear direction here, and the script that she wrote with her now husband, Noah Baumbach, really was able to encapsulate, I think, exactly what they wanted, creating a fun film that's accessible, but also having a real message behind it. It's available to stream in Canada on Crave or in the United States on HBO Max. Otherwise, it can be rented from Apple TV. Number 11 is Anatomy of a Fall. This French film directed by Justine Triet did a pretty interesting job of weaving together different styles of genre, of filmmaking. We have an effective courtroom drama, procedural drama, but we also have a very clear family drama as well. This one is long, but with Triet's direction, it is constantly keeping us on our toes, keeping us guessing, and keeping us engaged. And I know, speaking for myself, I am now very interested in the French legal system, and I'm curious if the way that it is portrayed in this film is actually the way that it operates, because it's pretty wild. Sandra Hüller provides one of the best performances of the year, kind of reminiscent of Cate Blanchett in Tar from last year. Very, very strong. And we don't know if we side with her. And that's kind of what the film wants to do. It doesn't give us clear, direct answers. It hints at certain things, but ultimately it's up to us to determine guilt or innocence. Number 10 is Past Lives. Past Lives is that small indie drama that could of the year, if you can still consider A24 productions small indie dramas. But this is a very personal story from Celine Song based on her own life experiences moving to Canada after spending the first years of her life in Korea and balancing new and old love. This film does a great job at challenging our expectations and subverting some of the very classic romance genre tropes, and I applaud it for that. It is not just a will they, won't they romance. It is a portrayal of real human beings who are conflicted not just about love, but about their place in the world. Past Lives has been doing great on the award circuit, and I'm so happy that films like this are still able to be seen by a wide audience. Number 9 is Killers of the Flower Moon. Scorsese's latest film follows the real story of the Osage people and provides some of the strongest performances of the year. Yes, this film stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, who both give good performances, although De Niro is probably a little bit stronger. Really, though, this film is Lily Gladstone's. She is not afforded as many lines as Leo, but she conveys so much by doing so little. Her minute facial expressions and movements tell a story that we need to hear. This film changed quite a bit from its inception, from Scorsese's initial kind of adaptation when DiCaprio challenged him to find the heart of the film, and as a result, they attempted to center the Osage people in this film. We can debate about whether or not that was accomplished, but I certainly thought that it provided the life, the heart that this story really did need. It's long and it kind of veers a little bit into a courtroom or a crime drama in the third act, but it is easy to watch. Rodrigo Prieto, the director of photography, who also did Barbie, made this film look beautiful. And of course, Robbie Robertson's last score before his death also propped the film up. Number 8 is Monster from Hirokazu Koreeda. This film employs the Rashomon effect, where we have the same kind of narrative told through different points of view. And Monster utilizes this effect quite well. It takes what on the surface appears to be a fairly simple story, and then as we shift perspectives, we learn that the real story is not what was presented initially. It's a coming-of-age film. It's a story about love and belonging. It's difficult not to draw some parallels to the Belgian film Close, both in imagery and in themes, but it also stands on its own. Perhaps most impressive are the performances from very young actors, which, as we know, is very hit or miss, but they hold this film together. Number 7 is May December. May December is one of those films that long after you finish watching it, it just sticks with you. It is weird in a Todd Haynes kind of way, but it's effective. Portman and Moore are obviously both well-established actresses, and they perform admirably here, although I would give the edge to Portman if I had to say. But the breakout performer is Charles Melton, who really comes alive in the third act here after remaining in the background for the first half of the movie. I love what Haynes does here with reflections, with using the lens as a mirror. It creates these almost surreal shots that really draw us in as viewers. It might be a bit on the weird side for some, or perhaps leaves viewers on a note that is unexplained, but again, that's the intention here. Number 6 is The Iron Claw. This film follows the real-life story of the Von Erich brothers, and most people were initially drawn to this film through Zac Efron's amazing transformation, and he is absolutely huge in this movie, but he also puts forward probably the best acting performance of his career, with some critics calling for him to be nominated for an Academy Award. Unlikely, but it was quite strong. Potentially even stronger, or at least on par, was Jeremy Allen White. Together they formed two of the Von Erich brothers, and as this film progresses, we see their relationship, we see the Von Erich curse, and we see the trauma that this family has to endure. It's a wrestling movie, yeah, and actually the wrestling scenes here are really quite good, but beyond that, it's a movie about family, it's a movie about masculinity, and it's a movie about finding your own path in life. As the Iron Claw moves through its final act, be prepared to shed a tear or two. Number 5 is Oppenheimer. Look, whether or not you're a Christopher Nolan stan, you should be able to recognize this film as a cinematic achievement. The sheer scale of this movie, replicating a version, obviously a much different version of a bomb to be detonated on camera, right? No additional visual effects, is quite an undertaking. And then you add to this the cast that was involved, the fact that Nolan is able to take a biopic from a physicist and make it one of the most highly grossing films in recent memory is, again, another achievement. Cillian Murphy is brilliant as Robert J. Oppenheimer, and Emily Blunt has, in my opinion, the best scene of the film and one of the best scenes of the year. Number 4 is The Holdovers. This one vastly exceeded my expectations and might just be my new favorite Christmas film. There's a trio of actors here that absolutely kill it. Obviously, Paul Giamatti in one of his best performances ever, but also newcomer Dominic Sessa, and a very, very, very strong performance from Davine Joy Randolph. Right now, Giamatti has a chance to win Best Actor at the Academy Awards, and Davine Joy Randolph looks like the front runner for Best Supporting Actress. This film is not wholly original. It's easy to see comparisons to films like Dead Poets Society, and it does employ a number of tropes that have been used in similar genre movies, but every trope that they may use, every cliche that you might think is present, it works. It is a funny film, and it is a truly heartwarming film. You learn to really connect with these characters, and I think that's a testament to Alexander Payne's direction here. Number 3 is Poor Things. This is one of the weirdest films of the year, which is not all that surprising when you consider the director, Yorgos Lanthimos, and how he is known essentially for making these strange, oddball films. I feel like either this movie is for you and you will absolutely love it, or within 5 minutes, it'll be too much and you just can't wrap your head around it. I would highly advise giving it an honest and open shot because it is worth it in the end. Emma Stone provides, again, one of the strongest performances of the year. Her transformation is like something I've never seen on screen before, and her ability to make these very subtle changes in her character is really showing how skilled she is as an actress. Willem Dafoe, Rami Youssef also provide strong performances, and Mark Ruffalo provides, in my opinion, the most hilarious performance of the year, portraying a hyperbolized version of a man that we probably all know. Not only is Poor Things weird and funny, it also has tremendous things to say about sexual liberation and about male dominance in society. So it is worth watching and rewatching through these various lenses. Number 2 is Perfect Days. I feel as though this film was almost made for me. It is Wim Wenders' best film in almost 40 years, and it's one that I can't wait to revisit. It is slow. It's almost a meditation. And it so perfectly illustrates the difference in being, in thinking, in knowing between our Western society and some Eastern worldviews. This film follows a toilet cleaner, and we see the ins and outs of his daily life. But more than just witnessing the tedious tasks that he completes throughout his day, we see a man who finds the beauty in the little things, who understands that, yes, there is tremendous pain in this world, but there's also tremendous beauty. These are just two halves to the same whole that makes us human. Koji Yakusho plays the lead here, and I wish that he was getting more acknowledgement for this performance. Subtle, yes, of course, but beyond brilliant. Outside of his performance, I just have to mention this soundtrack. We start off with House of the Rising Sun, and from that moment onward, I was completely hooked into every single song that was chosen here. Just one more reason to watch this film. My number 1 film of the year, drum roll please, is Maestro. Now, I'll do my best to keep my cool here because I love this film so much, and for whatever reason, it's been selected as this year's movie to hate on the internet. I think some of this vitriol comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of what this film is. Of course, we are led to believe that this is a biopic where we will learn a lot about Leonard Bernstein's career and the details of what made him such a brilliant composer and musician, but this is not really a biopic. Leonard Bernstein is simply a vessel that Bradley Cooper uses to shine a light on ourselves and to illustrate in detail some aspects that make us human. Maestro is a profoundly powerful exploration of duality. In Western culture, we have this urge, this desire, this need to dichotomize everything, to sort into categories, right or wrong, good or bad, black or white. In reality, though, that is such an oversimplification of what it means to be alive, of what it means to be human. We all, to varying degrees, have these opposing forces within us, and that's exactly what Maestro aims to show. We weave through extremely slow and intimate moments, which are then contrasted by large dance sequences, for example. This may seem to be disjointed or contradictory, but again, this is just a microcosm of Leonard Bernstein and of humanity. Leonard Bernstein is simultaneously a man who is loud, who is boisterous, who is always the center of attention, but he's simultaneously a man who is alone, who is depressed, and who so greatly needs to be loved. And the truest form of love that is in this film comes from Carey Mulligan. She puts on such a nuanced performance as Bradley Cooper Bernstein's wife in this film, and I hope that she continues to receive praise. The cinematography here is beautiful. The score, obviously coming from Bernstein himself, is brilliant. And I genuinely urge you, if you disliked this film, or maybe you were disappointed in not learning enough about Bernstein's music, I would ask you to reframe the way that you view this film. Use it as an opportunity to look inward and realize that, yes, Bernstein was far from perfect. He did things that greatly hurt those around him. But he also loved these people. In the same way we go through our lives and we make mistakes, we are greedy, we are careless, we are selfish. But this doesn't make us any less human. Whew. If you made it through the entire list, I am forever grateful. Hopefully you are able to add one or two to your own personal watch list. I'm going to be heading down to Sundance in a couple weeks to cover that festival, so please feel free to like and subscribe so that you can follow along for future film updates. Cheers.